that we are mandated reporters in the state of Texas. So just keep that in mind. Does anybody have questions about mandated reporting before we move on? All right, I'll hand it back to Crystal.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Okay, if you have not already, I encourage you to register for the workshops. I know most likely if you're here, you have already registered. I know last week there were a few girls that were in the workshops that did not already register. So if you can, please head over to our website. If someone can maybe, it looks like it's already in the chat box, so thanks for that. Head over there and make sure that you guys are registering for today's workshops and also the workshops that are coming up. All right, so finally, we get to introduce our special guests that are here today. I'm going to introduce Miss Toni. She's an Associate Director of Admissions from Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. Also, Miss Danette is joining us. She's an Outreach Admissions Counselor from Texas A&M. So thank you both for being here. They are both affiliates of the Dallas-Fort Worth Admissions Regional Network, also known as DARN. So again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day for joining us today. I'm gonna pass it over to you all. If you wanna tell us a little bit more about yourself, feel free to do that. If not, you guys can go ahead and hop right on into the presentation. And then Toni, I'm gonna make you the host.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm going to go first, and then Danette's going to come behind me. My topic is going to be talking about the college admissions essay. But just so y'all know a little bit about me, as Crystal said, I'm Toni Chandler. I am with Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. But y'all can probably tell the minute I started talking that I am from Texas. I live right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and I serve all the fabulous students in Texas who are looking to go to Bradley. The greatest part of my job is that I get to read over 800 essays a year, y'all. So I've seen and read it all, and I just love it. It's how I get to know my students and really kind of what they're thinking and their past and their hopes for their future. So this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I do have, you know, the ever-present PowerPoint. Please don't judge me for the number of tabs I have open. Okay, go away. There we go. Slideshow. Hang on. From the beginning. Okay, so here we go. All right, so my objective today really with y'all is just to talk about, you know, how you're going to craft your story in your college admissions essay. And really it is your story. If you think about your college admissions application, everything is kind of bricks and mortar, right? It's, you know, your GPA is set. If your involvement is probably pretty much set. If you have a SAT or ACT score, that's set. But if you think about the essay, that's kind of like Play-Doh, you know, that is the part of your college application that you really have the ability to craft, to change, to express yourself, your most true self through that essay. And really, it's, to me, the most fun. I know not everybody loves writing. I happen to come from an English and education background, so I kind of do. But, you know, the great thing about the essay is there are no wrong answers here, right? So think about what you want to get across in your essay. What are your traits and abilities and experiences that you want a university to understand about you, so that they're like, wow, I can really see her on our campus. Or if she comes to Bradley or wherever, she, you know, is going to do this, or I can see her being involved in that, or she's got, you know, perseverance. She's going to stick it out through those tough classes. You know, we love to understand that about a student. no one's perfect, and we certainly don't expect perfection as your trait. You know, we want to understand the real you and what gifts you're bringing to our campus. A lot of times when I'm reading an essay, I'll make notes like, be sure to talk to this student about, you know, getting involved in this, or be sure to let this student know that we have this service available to them, or I want this student to talk to a current student on our campus because I think that they have very similar backgrounds and they would really click. So, you know, the more true you are to yourself, the better that essay is going to be. So I'm just going to glaze over these prompts just a little bit in the interest of time. Most commonly, y'all are going to be doing Apply Texas. And these are the 3 current prompts on Apply Texas. And the Common Application essay prompts. A lot more to choose from there. At Bradley, we take the Common Application, so I'm very familiar with these prompts. The thing to understand, and I'm going to flip back and forth and give y'all a little food for thought on this one. So look at Essay A on Apply Texas about unique opportunities or challenges. Okay, so we see that one, and then we're going to go over to the Common App, and we're going to go to number 1 or even number 2. If you look at those prompts, both from the Common App and Apply Texas, you're going to see that they're very similar in that you could write the one for Apply Texas, take it, kind of manipulate it a little bit to address a prompt on the Common Application. So the moral of the story there is you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. If you're sitting there going, well, I want to do Apply Texas, but gosh, am I going to have to redo all this stuff just to do the Common Application to apply to XYZ school? Probably not. You can probably use the bones of one essay to use for the other application, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I will also tell y'all that, you know, often students will tell me, well, I just don't have a really good story, you know, for a lot of these, but read through them and really think, and something that you may think is kind of not relevant really may be. And so even if it's something, I had a student write an essay about taking a walk every day and what she loved to see, and you know, it was prompt number 5 actually, that, you know, she really learned to appreciate nature and her neighborhood and her neighbors, and she met this old couple that would be walking past her every day and she got to talking to them. So really something as simple as that can really make for a very compelling essay, and it told me a lot about her, so that was kind of fun. Okay, so we have our prompt. Did I skip? Yeah, we have our, I was afraid I skipped a slide there. We have our prompt. We're gonna go back to those very fundamental things about a rough outline. Every essay should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. When I open up that essay on a student's application, if I just see one big long paragraph, I instantly kind of go, okay, I hope this is formatted correctly in some way, and they just forgot to break it into paragraphs, because each paragraph is telling me something a little bit different. So you have your introduction where you really want to grab the reader's attention, but you also want to address that prompt. You don't have to say the prompt verbatim. You can allude to the prompt, and there again makes that essay a little more malleable for other things like scholarship applications or whatever. You're not being just copy paste, you know, the prompt. But definitely tell them, you know, this is the point where you're like, I'm about to tell you a story, and here we go. And then the middle. Definitely, you can use some quotes, you can relate it back to the prompt, but this is the meat and potatoes where you really are infusing those personal qualities. The more stories you tell me, the better picture you paint, the more I understand who you are. And this could be one really good paragraph. This could be two really good paragraphs. It just depends on what you need to tell your story. And then of course the end. As a writer, I always find the end kind of hard because I always want to kind of, you know, say it all over again. I'm a little redundant even in my thought processes, but you know, a good edit on that, you know, can kind of lead you forward. So you told me a story about something that probably happened in the past, but now you're going to take that and how am I moving this forward into my next life, my next stage of life, going to college. So that's probably a really good way to end an essay is, since I learned this, this is why you want me at your university, because this is who I am. And definitely we want to read and refine. This is the part that is a little more time consuming, and you probably want to call in some backup. You know, you need some help, some people who, you know, maybe not grandma, you know, maybe not your bestie, because they love you and they're going to think whatever you did was fabulous. You know, but some people, maybe a teacher, a counselor, your best friend's mom, you know, can look at it and kind of give it a fresh set of eyes. And I always encourage students, don't tell them what the prompt is. Just say, if you were reading this, what did you think I was supposed to write about? And what did you learn about me? Or if you didn't know me at all, what would you think about me if you had read this? What quality did I, you know, come across with in my essay? So call in for some backup, get your support team ready. I love it. And my screen does this. Okay, there we go. And then, you know, the good, solid, check your spelling, grammar, punctuation. Comma splices, I would say, are probably one of the most common things. And as a reader and as a teacher, when I see a comma, what are we trained to do when we see a comma? We pause. So it's kind of like traffic on, you know, I-30. You're kind of going, stopping, going, stopping, going, stopping. And so check those commas, run-on sentences, things like that. You guys know what to look for. But again, another set of eyes will always help you catch those little things. I really need to change this slide because I've come to the conclusion that using the name of the school in your essay is really not a great idea. So I'm going to amend this slide and say, avoid it if you can at all. Unless you know that application is only going to that school. But if you're using the Common App or Apply Texas, you are opting probably to send that to multiple schools. And there's nothing more, you know, kind of bummed me out as a reader that, you know, I'm reading this fabulous essay of this student that I'm just like, oh, I would love to have this student at Bradley. And I get to the end and they're like, and that's why I want to come to not Bradley University. And you're like, oh, okay. So, you know, definitely I would just leave that out. Just refer to it as your school, your university, you know, if you have to make reference to that at all. Now, here's the one that may seem a little strange, but I swear it works. Leave your essay alone for about a week. Just walk away from it, let it sit, and then go back to it. You will have a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes we kind of get lost in the forest because of the trees. And this way you will be able to just see it all clearly and make sure that you're really happy with it. And, you know, it is your voice and what you want to say before you hit send. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to talk about personal statements because I don't want to, I don't think that's a super common thing that y'all are going to come across. But let me have some questions. I got a few minutes. If y'all have any essay related questions.
Were there any questions in the chat? I don't think we had any. Just
I have
You
a
are
question.
absolutely right about reuse those essays. Once you have one or two essays that you're really happy with, even with scholarship applications, you can kind of pick and choose and shorten and lengthen and maneuver those for multiple purposes. So don't feel the weight of having to redo that every time, for sure. Good point.
Very good point. Do we have any more questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is there any specific hiccup that you see a lot of that you would really like to warn against with any type of earlier knowledge?
Ooh, that's like essay, particularly essay related.
Yes, like a constant mistake that it's like, oh, if only they would have known.
You know, technically not breaking into paragraphs in either run-on sentence or comma splices, I think are probably the three that I noticed the most. Topically, students are very reticent to talk about themselves. They may want to talk about grandma or their aunt or their little brother or their coach or something like that, which is great because those people play roles in our lives and they make us, you know, that's part of who we are, is our interactions with those people. But at the end of the day, bring the story back to you. You're kind of, you know, the center planet and everything else is kind of moving around you and how that affects you. Don't be the planet on the outside, be the center. Okay. All right, awesome. Well, I know Danette's got some good info for you about resume writing, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Awesome. Thank you, Toni. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Danette, are you ready?
All right, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Danette Gutierrez Hibner, and I have been with A&M Corpus Christi as a regional rep for over 13 years now. And so just like Toni, I live in the DFW area as well. And so I lead students from North Texas to head down to South Texas to come join us on the island at A&M Corpus Christi. But I wanted to share with you some tips on resume writing and the importance of a resume. So let me go ahead and start with that. I'm going to share my screen here. Oops, host disabled for screen sharing. Let's see.
My bad, Danette, hang on.
Sorry. Okay, I was like, uh-oh.
Okay, hang on. Sorry, I knew I was forgetting to do something. Okay, there we go. Here we go.
Okay, good. Oh, there we go. All right. Start from the beginning. There we go. Everybody see that okay? So yeah, creating a college resume. And really one of the first things I want you to think about, and a lot of students are going to say this, is it even worth the effort? I'm top 10%, or I know I meet the university's automatic admission, so why am I even going to bother with a resume? Some may even say, I put it on the application already. But you want to keep in mind that you don't want to pass up any and every opportunity to tell the university more about who you are, what you've been up to, and how you can contribute on that campus. So yes, it is worth the effort. And it's a way in showing the activities that you've been involved in and what's been important to you, time management skills and leadership skills that you learned along the way. So it's an opportunity to expand on your application, expand on the transcript and things like that. And then keep in mind, yes, you may meet automatic admission, but this resume or this application may be shown to a scholarship committee. It may be shown to a department such as the nursing department or the engineering department, or you may be applying to outside scholarship sources and they need to know more about who you are because they don't have that application for admission to look at. So putting something together like that is well worth your time. And then when it does get into our hands, what you are wondering is like, what are we looking for? What are we thinking about when we look at your resume? And one of the biggest things is what's been important to you. Based on your activities, we kind of have an idea of what you're passionate about, what you've contributed your time to. And we know you're in school. Some of you may be working too. And so we want to see how you've balanced your time, where you've devoted what free time you do have. And then have you stretched yourself? Have you tried something totally different? And then have you been sticking to this? You know, college is going to require 4 or 5, maybe 6 years out of you. We want to see your commitment to something, and that resume and what you lay out for us will give us a painting of who you are, what's been important, and how you're sticking to those things. Gives you a chance to, if you've met any challenges, to go ahead and put that on there as well, and just kind of let us know that maybe you haven't been able to be involved, maybe you have family obligations, and that's okay. Put that on there, because again, we want to know who you are outside the classroom. Where have you been spending your time outside the classroom? So that will give us more information on who you are. And you might have heard the term, the well-rounded student, and you're always wondering, what does that mean? Well, at the high school level, you have had opportunities for clubs, student organizations that you can get involved in. Well, at the university level, we will have the same thing. We're going to have student organizations for you to be involved in. And if we see students that have done that at the high school level, that tells us, and we hope that you will do it at the university level too, that you will have an impact on our campus just like you did at the high school that you attended. So we are looking for those kind of things. If you're going to be going, for example, into nursing, have you maybe gone into extra shadowing or volunteerism within a hospital or clinic environment? Have you sought those extra opportunities to gain knowledge about the field that you're going to go into? So all those kind of things are what we're trying to draw out of the resume and what you've included on there. So why submit it? It's definitely going to tell us the extra effort that you put into it. Okay, you could have skipped it, but you wanted to stand out. And like Toni mentioned, reading so many essays, same thing. We look at a student's application. There are some students that didn't bother to do a resume. They just put what was on the application. But as we're reading through that and to come across an actual resume put together nice and neat, it does give us a favorable opinion of that student because they did do the extra. And again, it's a chance for you to tell us what you've been up to, toot your own horn. What have you been recognized for in these student organizations? Not just your involvement, but did you receive any special recognition or honors or awards and those kind of things? And then honestly, if you do put it in a resume, it gives you a better format to tell us your story than what you will find on the application. Application, a lot of times, it's just a certain number of characters and that's it. Whereas in a resume, you have the flexibility to tell more of what that organization was about and the different activities and community service events that you participated in. So it does give you a little bit more information that you can give us. And then typical items on the list, the activities, community service. I like special experiences because there could be something unique about you, something unique that you did. And so put that on there, work it into the resume. Internships, if you've had the opportunity for that, definitely put that on there, especially, like I said, if you're going to do something like nursing or engineering, they like to know that you already have a flavor or a taste of what it's like to be in that field. Employment history, do not hesitate to put down if you work. That will explain why you weren't able to do XYZ after school. It'll tell us if you're working 15, 20, 30 hours a week. It paints the picture of what you've been doing. And so then we understand a little bit more that we can't expect you to be in after school activities with that kind of work commitment. So some tips to get started if you're sold on doing this resume. Jot down those activities. And we want to know since freshman year. So I would recommend that you talk to your family members, your parents ideally, because they're going to remember everything that they drove you to and that you were a part of. So start jotting down those activities using those items that I just talked about. Then start putting descriptions on each of those items and the number of hours. Be very specific. Don't sell yourself short. And in a minute, I'm going to show you some samples so you kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like. But do be creative in your spacing and bold lettering and those kind of things to make sure that the story you're trying to tell comes through clearly in that resume. Some universities will tell you, we only want 1 page. Others don't give you a limit. If they don't give you a limit, you still don't want to go too long. I would say no more than 2 pages anyway. But you definitely want to do your legal name, whatever you put on your application so it gets matched up. As an extra idea, put in the university ID that the university assigned you when they got your application. And then as you're listing activities, don't put anything prior to freshman year unless it's something that you've been continuing on. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Don't abbreviate, don't assume that they know what you're talking about. So spell it out at least the 1 time, and then you can use the abbreviation in your description and things like that. UIL is probably about the only exception. I think universally people know what UIL means, but there are so many different student organizations now that you don't want to just assume that whoever's reading this resume is going to know what that is. And like the essays, watch out for typos. Make sure that everything is clear and clean and easy to read. And then, of course, anything that you put on your resume, anything that you put on your application must be the truth. We're holding you to being honest about that. But here's an example of a 1-page resume. And, you know, academic, you do want to put your school graduation plan, you can put GPA, those kind of things. And it just depends on who's going to be reading this. If this is going to you know, the university, we know that information. So you just kind of keep it simple. But if it's going to perhaps a scholarship committee, then maybe you do want to put that on there. Extracurricular activities, I talked about nothing before 9th grade unless like ballet lessons that you've been sticking with it since 3rd grade, or, you know, band that you've continued on. I have an example for my son where it was Boy Scouts. He had started that in kindergarten, but he continued it through senior year. So it shows commitment to a project. You do want to be putting, like I said, the number of hours, activities, those kind of things. And this one is limited to the 1 page. So find those categories. In this case, the academic category, extracurricular activities, leadership, community service, talents, honors, and awards. So break all that down. That additional information is, if you're slim on what you have above that, then explain how you've been working. And then within work, maybe you have become shift manager or something like that. You've taken on extra responsibility at your work. Then put that in there as leadership and things like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be school related. Now, this example is one we put together for my son. He didn't have a limit, so we expanded on each activity, and his main activities were band and Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and church. So he took the opportunity to elaborate with each activity, and that way whoever was reading it could see just how much he had been involved in each of those things. When it came to community service, he expanded on what those projects were, not just collected food, but how many Saturdays, when was this done, the church, what kind of projects that they were. And this kind of, like I said earlier, tells them a little bit about what's been important to you in the projects that you actually choose to be a part of. Honors and awards, put everything down. Student of the month, student of the week, employee of the month, anything National Hispanic Merit student, national merit, anything that you have received special recognition for, put that on there. Do not be shy about it. Now's the time to tell us what you have been recognized for in all the work that you've done. So be very thorough on that. And then leadership, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be president of the student organization, but maybe within a certain group, you have been taking on leadership roles, or you're leading a certain project for student council or things like that. So you do want to think back and stretch and see, was that some type of leadership, or was that some type of community service that I can include on that? So be very, very thorough in all of that so that you paint the picture for us. And then we can see, is this someone who not only has excelled in the classroom, but we feel would be a great addition to our university campus, and maybe they'll be on our student government organization, or maybe they'll start a club of their own and things like that. But we want you to contribute on our campus, and this will tell us what's been important and that you're willing to do that and expand yourself. So I hope it's been helpful. I know that there are a lot of different ways that you can go through that. So you can also just go on Google and just do college resume templates and kind of find one that works for you and what activities you've been involved in. But there's a lot of ways to do it. No wrong way, no right way. But those are some tips that I think would be of help to you to get you started.
Danette, thanks so much. I think that was very informative. Thanks for sharing some examples of some resumes as well. I think that was very helpful just to kind of get a visual. I had a question. So do you typically find yourself paying more attention to the content of the resume over like what it looks like? I know a lot of times people try to get fancy, or they try to do something extra with the display of their resume. Does it matter? Just what has your experience been concerning resumes? I know obviously the content is important, but do you guys like to see some personality on resumes?
I think you don't want the content to get lost. So you do want it, you know, I think really just bolding, italics, those kind of things, just to have it stand out, easy to read. If you get a little too crazy, you might lose that content in there. But no, the main thing is, what is the story, you know, and is it easy enough to find each of those activities in there and understand what they were and how many years, how many weeks, all those kind of things. So.
Great. Awesome. Thanks for that. It looks like there is a question in the chat box. How do you answer college essay questions, and what should you not write your college essay? So maybe what should you not write about in your college essay?
Okay, I'll tackle that one. So, you know, a lot of times, especially as adults, we're taught, you know, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics, don't be controversial. Your college essay is not a dinner party. You know, this is not, you can, I think within reason, if that is what you're really passionate about, you know, politics and religion can be a big part of who we are. You can tell a very powerful story. You may have experiences around that. I've had a lot of students write stuff about, you know, their family and religion and them and religion and how it kind of made them who they are. So I think those are perfectly fine topics, although, you know, traditional sense tells you no. I think it's fine. I will tell you the two ones that sports, I get a lot of sports essays, a lot of sports essays, sports victory, sports failure, we lost the championship, you know. If that is the story you feel like you need to tell us, tell it. But if there's another story there, that's okay too, you know. So just think about that one. And then coronavirus. On the common application, there is a section, and I think Applied Texas has it too, Danette, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that says, is there anything that profoundly affected you about coronavirus? So if there is something that has really profoundly affected you about that, that's your place to say it. If you really, really, really want to write your essay about coronavirus, that's fine, but I anticipate a lot of those, and I just don't want your story to get lost in the woods of coronavirus. So, I mean, if it's powerful and you just have to get that off your chest, you do it. But, you know, think it through. That would be my only advice there. So hopefully I did that question justice. So.
All right, thank you. Were there any more questions, guys? Did we see any more questions in the?
Yes, there's another one. So what's the difference between a resume and curriculum? I don't think that's the right word, but VITAE.
And really, the resume is going to be more outside the classroom versus what you did, because the transcript's going to tell us the courses that you've taken and how well you did that. But the resume is going to tell us who you are and what you've been involved in outside the classroom. And so that's the biggest difference is, yes, you took, you know, your math and your science and all of that, but then you were involved in student council, band, other things, or church related activities, or you worked, which the transcript would not have listed.
Was that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any? Yes, we do. Let's see. Okay. If you are in sports and coaches have made a difference in your life, is that a good topic to add them into your essay?
I think so. You know, what I meant about the coaches and your grandma and your dog and, you know, whoever else, you know, I could write several essays just about my dogs, but, you know, at the end of the day, you got to think about the purpose of this. Mm-hmm. So you, as it relates to your coach or what your coach maybe pushed you to do that got you out of your comfort zone or, you know, whatever it is, but always bring it back to you, you know, because at the end of the day, this is your story. So just keep that in mind, you know, but I love learning about people's families and their travels or their family background, where they came from. That's the best part of the essays. So it's not like it's just got to be you 100%. You can bring other people into the story.
Awesome.
I still think of the story, reading an essay where a student talked about the value of education and how his mom, you know, drilled that into him and how hard she worked to make sure that he had what he needed. And he painted the picture of how he could still smell the bleach of when mom would come home, because she worked cleaning, and every time she came home, you know, he just got used to that smell of bleach. And as he described and used such descriptive wording in his essay, it had me smelling bleach. It was the weirdest thing. It's like I bought into it, and he just painted such a picture, and it was so powerful of the story he was trying to tell that it just took me right into where I was smelling it. So great descriptive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just kind of shows the power of using those words, you know, those descriptive words. So I love that. I'm very big on like scents. Like when I smell something, it reminds me of things or it brings me back to a memory. So I can definitely relate to that. I really like that. All right. Do we have any more questions? I don't think I saw any more in the chat box. Danette, Toni, thank you so much for being here with us today. I can't thank y'all enough for just taking time out of your day for making this happen for us. I hope we can connect and partner on other things or more things. I know it's our national scholarship season that's going on right now. So I think it might even be helpful for you guys to maybe come out and talk to the girls that are going to be moving forward with that process. Mm-hmm. So if that's something that we can look into, we can get that together as well. Also, I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. If you have not already registered for these workshops, please head over to the website. It's in the chat box. Danette and Toni have also put in their contact information in the chat box. There's also, y'all want to put y'all's Instagram handles over there. Follow the girls on Instagram just to kind of keep up with what we're doing as well. What else? So next week, there's going to be another college and career workshop. I think we're covering the topic application types and tips. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the next one that's coming up. So you guys don't want to miss that one. Make sure you guys register for that. There's also, we have workshops every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3 p.m. So we don't just cover college and career topics. There's lots of other cool topics that we're going to be covering as well. The great high school team will be covering those. So please make sure y'all register for those. Also, if you have any family members, or if you might have a little sister or a little cousin that are interested, we have elementary groups as well, middle school groups. So just head over to the website. You can see all the cool stuff that we have going on at Girls Inc. So thank you each for being a part of this workshop today. Thanks for popping up. I saw some unfamiliar names that I haven't seen yet. So thank you, girls, for hopping on today's call. Let's see, tune in tomorrow at 3. We're going to discuss time management, which is a great topic.
Can I come?
I'm going to be in there taking
I may need that.
I'll send you the Zoom link, Toni. So if you want to log on.
I haven't taken the
All right.
But yeah.
test. Take that too.
What'd you say, Steph?
The pre-test survey. Take that as well.
Yes, please. Make sure if you haven't already, take the pre-test. The link should be in the chat box as well. So please make that a priority to do so. And I think that concludes our workshop. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to type them in the chat box or unmute yourself. But I think that's it. Do we want to do a raffle today? Let's see, maybe we can do a random raffle. This is what we'll do. We'll do a raffle based off of attendance. So we'll take attendance. Once we get that in, we'll just pick a random person from that. We'll give away a gift card. So we'll do that for today. All right. Okay, well, that's it. That's all I have for y'all. Thank you again for showing up. Toni and Danette, that was some great content that you provided us with today. So we will chat with you soon. Thanks for hopping on.
Sounds good.
All right. My pleasure. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.